Hello everyone, I'm John Evans, and welcome to another episode of One on One. Kimberly Lawrance rose to the top of her sport in a hurry. She became the strongest woman in North Carolina, the United States, and the world, all within the span of about 2 years. Kimberly is also trying to lift up the strongwoman sport, to make more people around the world aware of the hard work these athletes do just to be the best.
I was always very sports-minded. That was kind of the only route I knew that was mine. In school, I had to try so hard. There was always a tutor I had to have. I always had to stay after class in order to get extra help, reading comprehension and geometry.
Yeah.
And then eventually, all my teachers kind of just saw that they saw something in me way before I did. And they knew, I was faster than most boys and girls. That was not an option. I didn't want to just win against girls. I wanted to win against everyone.
Be just tore out of
Staff,
everybody, right?
I wanted to beat every person. So they actually started putting me in 2 PE classes when I was in elementary, and it lasted all the way until I graduated high school. I've always had a predominantly athletic schedule because I have a lot of energy and I'm good at what I do. I've always enjoyed it. I've always ran. I've swam, played basketball, tennis. Tennis was a random one. I liked that too. Soccer was my favorite.
Yeah, you did, but you played, didn't you play soccer at CFCC?
I did. I did 2 years at CFCC, and then I transferred to Francis Marion University, and I played there for a season. Coach left, I left, and I think a lot of the team left that day.
Yeah. Where did you grow up?
I grew up in Greenville, North Carolina. It was actually kind of complicated because I'm a little bit of a military brat, is how we say it. But I was born in Greenville, and then we moved to Texas when I was 7 for about half a year. And then we moved to Atlanta, a couple places in Atlanta, and I will say I was raised in Atlanta until 14. And then right before freshman year of high school, my mother decided to move me back to Greenville and go to J.H. Rose.
Oh, yeah,
So
the
that
Rapids up there.
What definitely a shock for me, going from Atlanta, right by Buckhead, to
Yeah.
J.H. Rose.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, yeah. That was definitely a big difference.
Yeah. So what brought you down to CFCC? Obviously, the water's closer, and when you're in Greenville, you have to drive an hour and a half to get to the beach.
That's true.
But what brought you to CFCC?
Honestly, my dad was here, and I had already been looking. I had started talking to UNCW soccer, freshman, sophomore year in high school, but I kept having a stress fractures in my feet and ankle issues. And then I said I wanted to become a nurse, and declared my major. Once you declare your major as a nurse, it's very hard for that schedule to be flexible with an athletic schedule because you have a full-time job as a nurse. When I was at nursing school in Francis Marion, 6 a.m. is when that started, but I also had 2-a-days. So 6 a.m. is also when soccer starts.
Yeah.
So it was constantly combating schedule. So it just wasn't the best fit. And Coach Liebert, he's still actually here. I still talk to him all the time. He worked really hard. He recruited me. And if you are persistent, I will respect that. And I was like, you know what? You know something better than I do.
Yeah.
And I actually learned a lot. He probably taught me one of my better lessons, slow down to hurry up. I will say that. So go, Coach.
You have to kind of controlled aggression, right?
Yes. It was make sure you slow down and do things correctly so you don't have to go back and then you're going to double your time. Your efficiency level goes down. Your effective level goes down. It's just better to slow down and do it right the first round.
So when did the nursing, did athletics kind of take a little bit of a priority then when you saw everything you wanted to do athletics and the nursing kind of seemed to take a little bit? But you told me you were in home health care for a little while, so you didn't punt it altogether.
I kind of grown up knowing that I was supposed to be in the health industry. However, whatever way it was, I wasn't sure. But my mom, she ran her own home health care. She was one of the best nurses, or cardiac nurses on the East Coast. My dad was a CRNA, local in town. It was just kind of always in my blood almost. It's always around. We're talking about blood pressures and situations like, Kimmy, do you know what this bone is? Do you want? I know, yes, I know every bone muscle. I got you. But I kind of, junior year in college, I did actually want to take a step back from soccer and go to schooling, but it did not work out because, I love soccer. I have to have something extremely, athletic in my life going on. It just is how it's how I handle my life. That's just how I do it. And then my mother got extremely ill, so she needed someone to take care of her. I left, I think, the first week back after winter break. A week into nursing school, I left and went home and took care of her.
Is she doing okay now, or?
My mom is, I would say she's having a good day today, but you never know.
Right.
When you have diastolic heart failure, it's kind of, you never know. You have fluid problems. Some days you're out to here because of your fluid. Some days you're not. And with the medicines you're on, it causes other problems. So in the past time that I've been training for all of my competitions, people have no idea my mom has actually coded 4 or 5 times and completely been out. Like, I've had phone calls from doctors saying that I have 2 hours to get here and, say my goodbyes and all that stuff. And imagine hearing it the first time. That's your hardest. The second time, you're like, what? The third time, you're even more like flabbergasted that this is going on. You go down there, miraculous, she's awake.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it's just kind of like a emotional roller coaster. It's kind of like torture in a way, because whenever you're feeling good and confident, it's like you have your family come in. Your family's most important. It is, no matter what. Mm-hmm. So it's like, oh, injury or problems, I leave and go home to Greenville.
Yeah.
It's just that simple.
You can't take those opportunities. And the older you get, with me, the older I get, the more I value the time, not only with my wife, but with the kids now. My kids are 29 and 28 and 24. They're home now for a couple of days in the summer. But, I value that time now more than I did when they were, younger and growing up.
You do, and then you start realizing why, like your grandmother, some of your elders may say, take pictures of big moments. Yeah. And a lot of people, like my dad, absolutely hated pictures back in the day. But now he just smiles, because I will hold a camera on him for 10 minutes until he smiles, because I've started to understand that, yes, we go to El Cerro. Like, my dad and I have been going to El Cerro down the road in Monkey Junction I'm 27, so maybe 15 years. Yeah. But that now I started taking pictures of it, and I'm gonna have better memories when I look back in my album, because it's like, oh, I remember that conversation. Yeah. Like, that's the place we go to have our like real conversations. Like, that's when I like drop my bombs on my dad. I'm like, hey Dad, like, I'm going to Norway, just a heads up. And he's like, what do you need? Rolls his eyes so hard, but I mean.
The CrossFit Games, when was that now? And you started training because you wanted to enter that, right? Is that how it got started? I
think that's kind of how I have said a story originally, but I got into CrossFit because I wasn't leaving my house. After I started taking care of my mom, I moved here and I had a lot of stuff go on, and I ended up moving with my dad, and I wouldn't leave a house. I think it was 2 months, 3 months. I just wouldn't leave. I refused to leave. I just was really in a bad place. Like, I felt horrible. I felt like I'd left nursing school. Mm-hmm. I had already left my mom after taking care of her for a little bit. And so much that, like, I was supposed to have accomplished by 21 was not accomplished. Yeah. So you literally have next to no confidence, no pride. You're like, you didn't do anything. So my dad actually told me that I was going to CrossFit. His friend Marcy Wells, she had done the CrossFit Games, and she also was a nurse, or I think she was a nursing anesthetist. I'm not sure. Mm-hmm. She's up there in the nursing world, and they got me into it. And after the first week, I never really looked back, and I changed my life. I went out of the house. I started going out to eat again. I started having friends again and being social. But yeah, a lot of people don't know I actually completely was closed off from everyone.
And what did Dad see that he made you, what was the spark in him to make you get up and actually try it?
I think it broke my heart to see. I think it broke my dad's heart to see how I was. I was extremely sad, and I just got a German Shepherd from a domestic abuse type of situation where they give you dogs, and the only time he saw me excited is when I was running with her, when I was running or doing something active. And then he would look back and be like, because he also at one point was like really stressing the importance of school, not athletics, school. Mm-hmm. And when so many people kind of like are telling you to go a different route, you do give up faith originally on your own. Like, you're just like, these people know better. They've been around longer. They know what they're talking about. So I did it, and it didn't happen. I was constantly more and more unhappy. I'm very smart. Don't get me wrong. I got A's. Like, I can get an A in a class. Yeah. It's not about that. I just knew that my goal was not in my overall life would not be live to the fullest if I had that life. So he just knew that in order to get the sparkle back in my eye, to have the fire back in my eye, that was when I was competing. So he put something on my plate and was like, here's CrossFit. It's up to you. It's up to you what you want to do. If you want to do a comp, do it. And I started doing them.
How did it work now? Did you made the team, but as a backup? Is that how it works, or what's that whole story? I've read a couple of different versions of it.
Right. I've read a couple versions too. Realistically, what happened is when you're going for the regional or you're on a team, there's probably 4 or 5 girls, 4 or 5 boys, and you're submitting all of the scores for all of those athletes to the CrossFit Games. So even though your 4th person may have submitted 2 of those scores ahead of the other girls, it does not matter. It matters. It depends on who's captain. It depends on who's captain or who's in charge. And the girls who are going had more experience than me, hands down. I can't deny that. Was I stronger? Yes, hands down. Everyone knew that. I'm the young buck. Like, they called me a knuckle dragger. I was extremely strong. I didn't know necessarily how to handle it. I was just kind of like go for the gold type of situation. And they just kind of were like, I actually had one of my friends on the team. She kind of mothered me, Amanda. She's an awesome woman. She just told me to the side that I didn't need to try to keep working so hard to submitting these scores, and I need to focus on something else. And she said that there's a good chance I'm not going. And that was her way of like kind of breaking down the news that I never was going to go originally. Really? I had never been intended to go. My scores were just being used. But honestly, they win, and it kind of opened up my life for me because at the same time, Lynn Morehouse up in Raleigh, he was so persistent. Again, that persistence. Yeah. He told me that I would be good at it. And at that point, what did I have to lose?
Sure.
So I went and I won North Carolina's Strongest Woman, weighing in at like 142 in a 180 class.
Well, now back up a little bit here. You don't go to CrossFit. I imagine it's not just you walk in and start competing in Strongwoman either. No. So how did you get introduced to that? You said Lynn introduced you to this world and started your training process? How did that all work?
CrossFit, especially like when you're already competing and submitting scores for the regionals, you have most of your techniques. You have most of, an excellence level developed already to say. So you already have your background. So when you go over to Strongman, it's kind of just adapting CrossFit events.
Okay.
So we didn't have Strongman equipment. I think the only thing we had was an axle bar we had an axle bar, a skinny log, and stones. And the first time I played with the stones, they were so heavy I thought I broke my rib on the first one. Yeah. So I started laughing. I have a weird way of dealing with pain, and it's a hysteria laughter. Super annoying. But I laid on the ground for 10 minutes.
How can anybody tell if you're actually hurt if you're sitting there laughing?
So that's what happened when I tore my ACL.
Yeah.
I started dying laughing and crying, and everyone was like, what's going on? I stopped crying. I started laughing. It's like I wobbled to my car. I have no words to share with anyone. Yeah. I just know I have to get in my car because I know I have to go home and get to my dad. Yeah. Dad's safe place, right? We all have our safe zone. Yeah. So I knew if I got there, I'd be all right. So I got there, get some crutches out, and I have another friend come over. Can't shower, my leg's so swollen, can't move. It's just a lovely day.
Yeah, I can only imagine. So you get, how long were you training before you entered that first Strongwoman competition?
A year and a half.
A year and a half
at CrossFit, and then I entered my first Strongwoman competition in Dorton's Arena at Raleigh, in Raleigh, and I won.
Had you been to any of those before?
No.
So you just kind of walked in and said, hey, I'm here to compete.
Basically, I just kind of walked in like an underdog, and I just wanted to have a good time. A lot of the members from my gym were there, and we used to have a huge camaraderie. We were a very tight gym. There's probably 25 of us, 25 if not 30 of us there. Mm-hmm. And I just wanted to have fun. And then the first 2 events came by. I didn't even look at the score. I had no idea because I didn't even know how to read the score. So it's like, what is it going to benefit me?
What were the first 2 events?
The first event was the log clean and press.
So that's where you literally pick it up off the ground, put it here, and then press it up over your head. Okay.
And I think we worked to a max, a heavy single, and I think I hit, I don't want to say wrong, but I feel like it was 165 for my very, like, that was like the heavy lift of the day. I think there was like a super heavy weight that got heavier than me, but other than that, like, I didn't realize I did well. Like, I had no idea, because in my world, I'm like, my expectation is to beat whatever I set that day. So I'm not thinking about, Tina Fey and so behind me. Like, they're not on my mind. Yeah. And then after that event, there's a truck pull. And I
think I've seen the video of that one, because that's online, right? Your version when you did that one? Yeah, I think I saw that.
There's a couple different truck pulls online. And then there was a deadlift. Deadlift's where I normally will excel. And I think it was farmer or log, then deadlift. And after deadlift, there was trucks, another event, and stones.
Stones when you grab the big balls off the ground and put them up on like a pedestal, right?
Yep.
And there's 6 of those different ones or something like that?
That was for that was up in Canada, North America.
Oh, okay. Right.
That was the Canadian show. I actually won that one. I was that one was like, I couldn't believe that one.
So you're going through this competition up in Raleigh, and when did somebody start telling you at this point, hey, you're doing pretty well here?
Well, I actually had a boyfriend at that time. He was competing, and like we had started training together, and I didn't care about the score. Like I said, like to me, strongman, that was my excuse to go eat candy. Like candy was accepted in this world, and I'm like, woo, I'm your girl for that. Yeah. I love candy. Yeah. And he was like, Kim, like, do you know? I'm like, do I know what? He's like, your name's up here. I'm like, cool story. Yeah. I don't even know what that means. Like, because the points are not done, like, they're not done the way you think they're done. I swear they're not. Yeah. And he was like, you know you're winning right now. And I was like, what? I'm like, look at me. I'm this tiny little noodle out there next to girls who have been doing this a hot minute. And I've had 3 girls, actually, I remember exactly who they were. 3 girls come up to me and tell me that, like, I really should go to nationals because they knew I was going to qualify after the first event. I, again, had no idea. I just knew they told me if I went to nationals, don't worry about winning. It's just an experience. A girl like me would never win. Yeah. That's fuel to me. Yeah, I'm like, yeah? I'm like, all right. I'm like, no. Correction. You won't win. Yeah. You don't have the mentality I do. If I say I'm going to win, I'm going to figure it out and I'm going to win.
So at the end of that day, I can only imagine you're there to have fun. You're doing a lot better than you thought you were going to do.
Hands down.
So you walk out of the thing that day, and all of a sudden you have this bright new horizon in front of you.
It's literally like a door just kind of dropped open super quickly and was just like, go. And it was my opportunity to either step in that door and go or step out. And I stepped and jumped. Yeah. And then
And that was in 2016, right? The first place you won that? The
North Carolina Strongest Woman was 2015.
Okay, all right.
Because then the Arnold World Champion was championship, that was 2016.
2016 Strongman Corporation Strongest Woman in the World?
Yes.
That's the one you went out there?
No, the 2016 Strongman Corporation was the Arnold Classic.
Arnold Amateur World Championship.
Yes.
As the middleweight.
That was before we were even, there were no pros.
Okay.
At that time. So yeah, I had to qualify, actually. So North Carolina Strongest Woman qualified me for nationals. Mm-hmm. And this nationals, I already had people in my mind telling me I'm never going to make it. Yeah. It's just, look at me. Like, I don't look like a strong woman. What does it look like? Like, how do you really decide that? Like, I'm pretty sure I'm stronger than a lot of people, and we don't look the way we're supposed to. So I just kind of went in there, like, kept to myself, had a boyfriend with me, the same boyfriend, and had a little hood on, kept my earbuds in, and slept in between each event because I knew calm, cool, collected is a better way to address any situation than getting amped up. Little did I know, again, don't know how to check a score. I don't know how the scoring's done at this point. Like, it's not the way it's been, in soccer or CrossFit or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And eventually Eric's like, hey, I think you're winning. Yeah. And this is after a girl came up to me, one of the girls from that North Carolina show that said I could never win. She's competing against me, mind you. And she comes up to me and is like, you're in last place, just to let you know. I told you shouldn't have came.
Really?
Most girls are not like this.
Who says something like that?
A girl who's very sad with her own life. I would say this girl is actually like, she's been nice to me in times, but she's actually
Yeah.
gone out of her way on social media and stuff to like target me.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to say her name, so why would I ever give her that attention? Her life's going to be miserable enough without me doing
Yeah.
anything else. But she said that to me in front of my current boyfriend, or my boyfriend at the time,
Yeah.
and one of my coaches. And I was, I'm bummed. Again, I don't know how to read the score. So I'm like, oh, man, I wasted my time. Like, my gym had raised money to help me get there. So I'm feeling extremely guilty. And then eventually, I don't even plan on going to the banquet. Like, I didn't want to, like, why do I want to go to the banquet? Like, I'm this skinny girl. Like, it's kind of funny to call me skinny in comparison.
Well,
I'm really
compared to
not.
some of the other, yeah.
But I was just defeated, so we went out to dinner and grabbed a drink, and then my Lynn, I call him a coach. He's more of a mentor.
Yeah.
He was like, Kim, where are you? I'm like, why does it matter? I'm hanging out. I'm having fun. It's like, your award, you're about to get called. I'm like, for what? You guys said I got last place. They're like, no, Eric was right. Like, you won. I was like, no, I did not. So I went up there, and I was so shocked. I was waiting for them to take it back the whole entire time. Because, I weighed in at, like, 152. I think I'd finally started eating at this point.
Right.
So I'm still, like, your lightest competitor. And I'm just like, oh, my God. Then I get another invite to the Arnold World Championship. Again, already being told, just go for the experience. You're not going to win. These girls have been doing it way longer than you have.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, that's cool. That's great for them. I'm still going to go out and put on a show. I guarantee you, I will break or tear a lot of stuff in order to win. If you haven't learned anything about my history,
really?
I will do what it takes. If I say I'm going to win, I'm going to win.
And that's when you won the national championship in the under 160. Is that what it was?
That was the national championship we just talked about. This was the 180 under middleweight amateur strongwoman world championship.
Wow.
It was strongman world championship.
To put the title on the back of the trophy. It's like
there was a big title. Honestly, it's still my coolest trophy to date.
Why is that?
It's huge. It's brass. And on it,
really?
the story with it, so on the way back from Arnold, I had 2 glasses of champagne at a restaurant to celebrate because we did not get a hotel that night.
Yeah.
Because, little Kimmy, like, why would we think that I'm going to win? So I have my 2 glasses of champagne. I get my little bed set up in the back of the truck, and we start driving back. We actually get hit by a drunk driver when we get into Greensboro. Flipped 3 times, totaled the car completely. They said it was a miracle that I'd lived because the back of the car is completely under, it was crushed. And if I had been sitting up, I would have broken my neck. Hands down, I'd been laying down without a seatbelt. And I woke up, and I had actually attached my seat to him to keep him from going anywhere. Like, I was on the back.
Oh, really?
I don't know how I was asleep. I don't remember. And then I just remember looking up, and I see this red stuff all over everything, all over him. Like, I'm thinking he's in the process of dying.
Yeah.
And there's blood everywhere. And then I start to realize, I'm like, oh, my God, this is from me.
My blood, yeah.
So, again, my hysteria laughter breaks out. Cars, the whole entire interstate's closed at this point because we flipped, like, from one side to the other.
Wow.
And so everyone stopped. People come and pull me out. People are yelling at me. There's glass everywhere. I'm dying laughing because, again, like, it's not the right time, but it's just how I cope.
Yeah.
And then I had to go to the ER at Moses Cone Hospital.
Yeah.
I had, like, a concussion and stress fracture, broken or a smashed septum, and something else up in there. I still have a little ugly oomph from it.
How long did that set you back?
Like 4 months.
Yeah.
And the next competition after that was Strongest Woman in the World in Jacksonville, Florida, 2016.
Yeah. And that's where you, I forget, I didn't get.
No, is it 2017? No, it is 2016.
Is that where you placed 5th? No.
No.
I'm still trying, because one of the things I've learned doing some research for this is that there are, like, events every weekend.
Yeah,
in the Strongman Corporation.
So there's pro events, and then there's your amateur events. I haven't done an amateur event since North Carolina.
Okay.
Actually, technically, the last amateur would have been the Arnold because we didn't have pro cards yet. We got pro cards after I won, and then we were allowed on the main stage next year. But that qualified me for Strongest Woman in the World, which again is another story. I have a lot of crazy stories.
Yeah, isn't this the one where you were told that you'd won because of a tiebreaker?
It even gets better than that.
The long story short is what I had read for research is that they told you'd won, but then some kind of a scoring mistake or something came up?
Long story short, before one girl and I had tied, or not tied, it was by 0.1 difference, but they had told us we had tied. Again, I'm not looking at the score, she's not either. And we were told that we have to do a tiebreaker. So we did the tiebreaker and I won it. Mm-hmm. Hands down, there was no question.
What's the tiebreaker? Another routine?
The tiebreaker was carrying a Husafella stone. Was it a keg? It was carrying a keg for as long as you could. Okay. I have the grip of Satan. It's not going anywhere. That's what I've been known for a long time. And I won. And, I didn't win. I won that event, right? But that event should have never happened because she should have won it. But I actually got the trophy. I got my check. I got sponsorships, everything in regards to it. And then I actually got taken through my first dose of bullying online. That was interesting. I got taken through the ringer. I was told everything from Kimmy should be barred from strongman competitions because now they're skewing it for her to win because she's pretty. I'm not the only one who's pretty. A lot of girls are pretty. A lot of people are. Who
bullied you? Other competitors or just outsiders?
Sad thing is some of the ladies who still will say hey to me today.
Really?
Yep. And I smile because, I can't, there's only so much I can do about it. They must have been in a bad point in order to have to trash someone else. That's kind of the way I see it.
Yeah. Did you get to keep everything or did you have to give it back?
I don't think I've actually ever disclosed this, but I did actually get to keep everything. The promoter of the competition had been messaging me from the time that the social media stuff had started. I did not know it had started. Mm-hmm. I had a good night celebrating with my friends. You don't drink a lot of times for these events, like 3-4 months out. So this was my first time drinking. And I was having fun. And then the next day I woke up to probably 30 messages of hate. Just absolute hate. Some of my teammates were completely supporting me. Like, how dare you talk to her like this? Like, she had no idea. Like, I honestly that day wanted to go and give that girl a trophy. I wanted to give it to her because if she felt that she deserved it, just like they said that she did, I wanted to give it to her. But, neither of us were really going to feel like a champion after a win like that. True. You can't. Like, every bit of pride almost gets taken away. But I was told to jump off a bridge. I was told to go kill myself. I was told that I'm pathetic and I should be ashamed of myself. Everything that I never thought I would ever hear. And then I had even some of the girls who I'll be competing against in Norway. Like, there's one girl, nasty little thing. She still, she actually still attacks people online, but when it happens, it hurts our sport. It doesn't just hurt me. Mm-hmm. I can take a lot. Like, bring it on. Like, go tell me jump off a bridge. Like, cool. I probably already have jumped off a bridge, but there's water underneath. Yeah. Like, so we're both getting the same thing. Some of the girls were just like, she shouldn't be allowed to compete again. She knew about this scandal. No one in their right mind would ever wish for that scandal to happen. Yeah. I can guarantee you that.
Back with the second part of our conversation with Kimberly Lawrance in a moment. First, though, I'd ask you a favor. Please subscribe to the One-on-One with John Evans podcast on whatever app you listen to us. And also thank you for your ratings and your reviews because those really help us with recommendations from the apps when it comes to bringing in some new listeners. So thank you if you subscribed and you've reviewed us. If you haven't yet, please take a couple of moments, not only to subscribe, but let us know what you think of this episode and any others that we've released so far. Now back to our interview with Kimberly Lawrance, and we talk about 2017 and some of the successes she had in that year.
And my first competition was the first ever pro Arnold Strong Woman Classic. Not strong man, strong woman.
Right.
It can be called women for once. Yes.
Yeah.
I was in first place, actually, shocking. This is an open weight class.
Okay.
So you have your biggest, your smallest. And I was actually in first place going into the second day. Couldn't believe it. I literally just started training again a month ago.
Yeah.
And the day 2 event was the dumbbell. That's how I tore my labrum.
Ooh.
So I had a meltdown. I did it, and got a couple reps. But when I was done, I was shot. My nervous system was completely down. Like, that's when I realized that I had to make myself emotionally and mentally more strong, because the fear of getting hurt again was controlling me that day.
Yeah, the first time you ever hurt something, it's always in the back of your mind.
Yes.
Whether it's a back, whether it's whatever the case may be, you pick things up differently, you react differently, and that's
You
even
shift
from
your weight.
Yeah, and that's just from the first time I ever picked up something in the garage and pulled that back muscle, and then for the rest of my life, I've always tried to make sure I don't pick it up the same way, and I imagine it's the same way with you because of all the muscles that you have to use in the competitions.
Yes. So I did that one, and then that was just kind of like an entry back into the Strongwoman, and that was 2017. And then my next event was another open weight class. It was in Regina, Canada. And I had so much fun going there because I went through border control, and they're like, "Where are you going?" I was like, "Regina." Regina, Saskatchewan. Because, I'm a child. It's fun.
Yeah.
So I went up there, and I had a good time, and it was a one-day show.
Right.
And I had known that I did not win like any of the events. I know I placed like top 2 or 3 in quite a few of them. Other than that, I knew I didn't win. I'm not looking at the scoreboard. If I look at that scoreboard, I am not going to accomplish anything further. Nothing's going to change on that board. Yeah. So I don't look at it. I stayed with my best friends, Caitlin, and she had a boyfriend with her down there that he was like our handler, and we had Brittany Cornelius' mom as the Team USA handler. So I just hung out with them. I was dancing around. I'm known for dancing before I go because I believe that I need to be calm before I do these things. And I was the only one who completed the stones.
Out of everybody there?
Out of every single athlete. I don't know. I love stones.
Yeah.
And when I did this, I ran outside because I kind of had heard in the air like, the skinny girl, like, I think she's gonna win. And I started hearing that whisper, and I'm like, wait, I'm the skinny girl in this show. Like, okay. So I think about it. I get the last stone up, and I run outside because I have tacky all on me, and it's ripping my skin off. So I have like 5 people just pouring oils on me to get it off as quick as possible.
Yeah.
And then, because there's 2 more people who have to go. If they get that stone, I don't win. I know that.
So you don't even want to watch them at that point?
I'm done. I'm not looking. I stay completely outside the building. There's a beer tent that's right next door that's sponsoring the event. I go get a beer. I take my shirt off, and I just breathe, and I chill because I know nothing I can do anything. I just have to control my emotions. And then everyone gets called, and I'm over here drinking the beer, socializing. I'm a little talker. Socializing, and then all of a sudden, everyone's called but me. And I actually have this part on camera, and I have a beer in my hand. This dude, Steve Halliday, he's promoter of the show. He looks back and he goes, like, "How are you not called already?" I was like, "You're the one calling us."
Yeah.
He was like, holy, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
You won?
Won.
I was like, yeah, man, I guess so. So I walked out there and I won. That was probably my favorite win because it's an open weight class, so it's more rewarding than just a middleweight. Like, middleweight is a very strong class. But open weight is just something more like, you just feel better about it. So then after that competition, I had America's Strongest Woman and Strongest Woman in the World in Vegas. And I actually won almost every event. The last event, Kate, you're a good girl, New Zealand. She's from New Zealand. She pulled out 1 extra deadlift. I did not know. I thought the time was done. I was listening to her rep, so every time I heard her do a rep, I would do a rep.
Yeah.
I didn't need to win. I needed to maintain, but I also knew I wanted to tie or win every event. So, again, I was the only one who was able to complete a couple of the tasks in that thing, and I ended up winning. Yeah. It was probably one of the best competitions. Like, I had so much fun. And it was probably the one with the least amount of media exposure. And that's when I realized, America, we do not support strong women yet. Like, we have to do better at that.
What is it going to take for America? You're already the strongest woman in the world. An American has already won that title.
It's exposure.
What's it going to take for it to become... I think the documentary with Arnold and Lou Ferrigno years and years ago really put bodybuilding...
whatever.
Yeah. But I think that put that in the mainstream. What's it going to take in your mind to put something for strong woman and strongest man in the world to become more mainstream?
They've already done the Strongman documentaries just recently. There's 2 on Netflix already. And I'm actually in one of them, which is kind of cool. I didn't know that. But we need exposure. I mean, I don't want to say like I need to have a documentary sent on based on me in order to go live, but I honestly feel like it would help because I hit so many different categories. I'm not just what you would think as a strong woman. I can do flips. I can do plenty of gymnastics world. I can swim. I can run. I can lift 600-700 pounds. So I feel like being able to broadcast that would open up our avenue quite a bit because a lot of people, I get the comment, you don't look like a strong woman. And they say, like, what looks like a strong woman? And they think, you know, someone with a very predominant jaw, someone very big, I mean, like, huge. And that's just not the case anymore.
Don't you think they confuse it with bodybuilding?
The people who have no idea, yes, because bodybuilding and strongman could not be further apart.
No, I know, but when you talk to the layperson, if you walk down here on Market Street, you say,
When I work, because I've been a bar girl down here working as a bartender, and people come up to me all the time, when's your next show? When do you compete? I don't have a show where I have to look aesthetically pleasing. I just like to be healthy. I want to be overall healthy. It's fun to say, like, YOLO, and I'm going to live as hard as I can right this second, but I mean, realistically, it's not really about me. It's about keeping my body healthy, keep inspiring others to do the same rather than just go. And I've seen girls already in dialysis. They're 30 years old. So I would rather just be able to share my story and hopefully have a girl doesn't go down that pathway.
Yeah. But it would seem to me that most people, when they think about anything strong competition, they don't think, because you do 6 different events in a strong woman competition, whereas they might think of Schwarzenegger and Ferrigno posing and bodybuilding. Maybe there's that confusion between that is a mainstream belief, and that wall needs to be knocked down a little bit.
I couldn't agree more, and I really hope that through some of the stuff I've been doing recently, I'll be able to get the exposure, because I do feel like I have a good platform behind me as well in order to help a lot of other people understand strong woman and bring more people into that world, because a lot of people are deterred with what they think strong woman is. So if I give them an actuality, you know, let them see my life, an actual day in my life, I feel like they'll be more understanding of and be like, wow, like, I didn't know people could even do this.
Well, but they also, again, and before John did the story with you a couple of weeks ago, and I didn't know this competition existed. Most people don't. And they think that, you know, bodybuilders can't do gymnastics, or they can't have difficulty doing other things that you as an athlete can do, whether it's throw a frisbee or do handstands on the beach that I've seen your video doing. People don't think that that's a possibility if you get too deep into the bodybuilding.
I completely agree. But I mean, in the bodybuilding mentality, that's completely accurate. You can't. In the strong woman, strong man world, you can do whatever you want. The sky is the limit. It's our choices. If you want to have mobility that's so bad that you can literally only lift a log, right on, I support that. But I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
I'd like to be able to be active. I want to live life. I think that, I mean, strong woman is a huge part of my life, and it's bettering every other aspect, but you still have to live life.
Yeah.
You still can't. You still have to go to I have to go to the beach with my friends. It keeps me sane. Like, I love boats. We go out all the time on the weekend. Like, that's fun. But what people don't see is how I probably woke up at 6 a.m. and was in the gym for 2 to 3 hours beforehand.
That's what I was going to say. How much training do you do? Because you see, and again, I'm referring to the documentary with Arnold Schwarzenegger, because that's the only one I've ever seen. But I mean, they're in the gym and they're hours, 8-9 hours working on different body parts. I know you train. What's your schedule like during the week? How many days do you train? How many hours do you train for what you're doing in a competition? I
go to the gym 5 to 6 days a week. Coming back from my ACL surgery, it has obviously been different than a normal training.
Sure.
But normal training, I am at the gym probably 4 to 6 hours. I have mobility that I have to do, and then I have therapy exercises. So before my knee, I had my shoulder that I had to rehab, and I still now have to rehab both of those in order to help get them stronger, prevent anything else from happening. And then you have to rehab or prehab the other side to make sure nothing happens. And then after that, you have an hour warm-up, getting your heart rate at a certain level. Then you have to think mentality, because now it's like, oh wait, like I'm not just gonna go clean, like, or when I say clean, it's a
Right.
movement.
Yeah.
170 pounds on a whim, like that's more than I weigh right now. So you have
Yeah.
to be really mentally in the game in order to understand like what's it going to take to get the bar up there, and B, like you just have to be mentally strong and have to take it all.
What's it going to take for you to do this for a living?
I kind of already am, but to make it a successful living.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like don't get me wrong, I love my life.
No, I understand.
But there are definitely a lot more struggles that people don't see.
Sure.
But I think honestly at this point I need the exposure. I need exposure because I know the way that I can handle certain situations. I can help other people come into this. More people come in, more money comes in. The more that we can get up to the guys stage. The guys, when they win the Arnold, it's $100K. The girls, I think the max payout's ever been $5K. So it's kind of not even like fair. Like that's 5%.
Yeah.
So
Is it bringing in more sponsors? Is it opening the world to make the sponsors know that these ladies work just as hard as the guys do?
it is, but the thing is we're still dealing with society's norms. I think is the safest thing to say. Society doesn't necessarily want to see the biggest girls up on the stage. They want to see lean, strong girls. Because, I mean, it's TV. They're harsh. It's that type of world. Mm-hmm. For the men, the bigger the better. Mm-hmm. For females, it doesn't advertise as well. It's just kind of like you go ahead and you start hearing the steroid jokes. You start hearing like, I wonder what she's doing. Like, no, it's hard to build up a sport when that's what's being portrayed.
Right.
Someone like me being portrayed, you're not going to say that about me because I don't. I don't look like that. I don't act like that. I have, again, other goals. So I'm not going to go gun-ho and just try to be on dialysis at 30.
Yeah.
I'm 27. That's 3 years away.
What are your goals?
My honestly, my goals would be to be the first woman on ESPN, the first strong woman on ESPN, whether it's an interview or anything. Honestly, I think it'd be awesome to be in Sports Illustrated as a strong woman. There are a lot of people who like that world. And even though it sounds kind of not as maybe like people would want, but being able to do those things gets so much more exposure into all different avenues. So anyone who's athletic mind, anyone who likes athletic females now, are now going to be looking at this. So think about how many people who are big honchos in their company who now want to back this sport because they saw such and such female. That's how it's going to start, just the same way it did with the men in bodybuilding. They got that and they're like, wow, like he's really aesthetically pleasing, like perfect in a way. Like let's do a competition and see who's the prettiest, basically. Mm-hmm. And that's kind of how it starts. So until we're going to get that exposure, I mean, between myself, Donna Moore, and some other females, we've won a lot of stuff. We've been winning. Mm-hmm. I've had 3 or 4 world championships. We still don't get it. In UK, they get way more exposure than American girls ever will.
So are you, and I'm trying to use the metaphor here, you're trying not just to lift the weights, but lift the sport. Is that
Correct.
fair?
I am definitely trying to lift the sport because I was always told if you build up what's around you, that's when you're going to feel better about yourself as well. Because it's not just about you. You're building your community. You're building other things, making opportunities and doors open for those who may not have had that door open. And maybe, honestly, it would be a really nice goal if I can have my story out there, like my legitimate, real story out there, and have a girl who was in my boat in high school who can make different decisions and go straight to Strongwoman or to lifting. Because when I was growing up, lifting, it wasn't cool. It wasn't cool for girls to lift. I was squatting 225 in high school. It wasn't cool. I got called a lot of names. Like, it just wasn't what it is right now. And I just feel like we have to get over that stereotype, that norm. Like, how is it a social norm that we're supposed to be dainty? No offense, but like social norm kind of died a long time ago in reference to dainty little females. The last time I checked, the obesity is now the norm. Mm-hmm. So it's like, how can we, it's just kind of like you're playing to society's norms, but while I'm trying to set one. I'm trying to set one that it's okay that we are the way we are.
Boy, your self-confidence, though, to me is just, your self-confidence to me borders on being more impressive than your accomplishments.
Thank you. I
to me.
appreciate that.
Because, I mean, you have an idea, in my mind, where you want to go. You've seen almost kind of where that door is. You stuck that first foot through the door, and now you're trying to pry it open for people who you probably have no idea or never will meet.
It's not about me right now. It's if I can open the opportunity up for other girls and save them, I would rather do that than have someone live the lifestyle that I may have.
Yeah.
And I just would prefer that night and day. I don't know. I just want I want girls especially who are more muscular to feel pretty, to be like, oh man, like, whew, look at that trap, like, that's gorgeous, rather than like, oh my God, my traps, like, let me hide these, because I've done that.
Really?
I go out to this day, and I will have people come up to me, and to this day, I think it happened this weekend, and someone came up and they're like, wow, your traps are so big. They look great on you. I never want to be that big, but you look great. So you kind of just get like such a backhanded comment right to you, and it's like, I've already learned how to handle this. I'm like, cool, like, appreciate it. I don't want your traps either. No offense, or your gut. But I didn't say that, remember?
Yeah.
Like, it's kind of like, I guess I can't say the opinion, but
you can say whatever you want.
It's kind of like,
I mean, this is getting to know Kimberly Lawrence, and I think it's all part of the makeup of this young athlete who's trying to make things better and trying to open up a sport for a lot of other people.
I know I'm not the only one who takes these comments. I've seen on my fellow teammates, and these girls, some of these heavier, bigger girls are some of my truly, like, best friends. Like, some of these, we're solid. When we travel internationally, like, we have so much fun. But I've seen some of the comments they face and they deal with too, and I'm just like, who are you?
Yeah.
Like, who are you to even say this? Because we want to say stuff back, but it's like, how are we ever going to grow up if we do? Like, you can't reciprocate that.
And social media today has given, I say there's a lot of bravery and anonymity. I mean, you don't have to show your face, and you're real brave when nobody knows who you are.
Pirate keyboards, that's what I call them. Pirate keyboards. Everyone has power behind a computer or a computer screen. That's probably been the hardest thing for me, is the social media aspect. Because you have people who have not accomplished anything. Like, literally, not won any world championship, maybe not even placed top 3. And they'll have a whole entire business out of what they're able to project on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then you have people like me who have done a lot, but I'm not that loud on Instagram. I don't feel the need to share my opinion on every subject. I don't think that's important. So I wait till I have something important to say. Or honestly, I say a lot of thank yous, because it's like, I don't read a lot of thank yous. Like, we don't get here alone. Like, come on. Like,
yeah. Do you have sponsors who are helping you?
I'm extremely lucky and grateful to have some of the sponsors I do. I have SBD. They picked me up. I was the very first Strongwoman athlete for them after I won the Arnold World Championship. I picked them up, and I have Train Strongman, Strike Force, and Dry Rub. It's a seat cover company that's actually local to town. And I've had a lot of those people who have actually, like, they even if they don't have the funds in their company, they want to help this sport grow, and they know where I'm at. So they know I'm not going to ask, but, for so much. Like, it's embarrassing to have to ask for money to a degree, but also in order to spread the word, you kind of have to get over it. So I got over it, and I've had a lot of sponsors help me. I've been very lucky. Oh, and the local dredging company, Carolina Dredging, they have helped me out an exponential amount.
Cool. What about steroids? What about drugs? What about performance enhancers in this competitive industry? Do you get tested? Are they allowed? Talk to me about that whole aspect.
Steroids, the unlike ever heard conversation.
And I'm asking because I don't know. You know what I'm trying to say?
Steroids are allowed completely, 100% in my federations. In no way, shape, or form are you going to get tested for anything that you do. The men are encouraged to be as big as they can. The women, we have to watch it. We are told not to look masculine, because once you start bordering with that line where you are your jaw's no longer female, anatomical body parts aren't looking the way they're supposed to, you've gone too far, and that's hurting our sport more, because most females do not want to look like men. They want to look like strong females. And there's nothing wrong with looking like a strong female.
Right.
I don't believe, even as a strong woman athlete in the world I am with all drugs accepted, I do not believe you should be going in dialysis at 35. I think that's horrible. I don't think you're showing a good message to any girl, because if I had a daughter, that wouldn't, are you kidding me? Like, look at what she's looking at. Like, you do know other people are looking at you.
Yeah.
And it's not like, oh, just looking at it about stigma. It's for health. Like, so steroids are completely illegal. I have seen some interesting things in my day. I will say that.
Yeah. Do you know, obviously people know the impacts if they're used on people's health, right?
Honestly, a lot of people, I'll say I hear of more amateurs trying to figure out the stuff in regards to gear. Gear is what we call roids. I would say I hear a lot of amateurs who are not ready to go, who haven't hit true maxes. And those are the ones who I worry about, because they're starting so early before they even need it. Mm-hmm. Like, a lot of people don't necessarily need it when they start. You need it when your muscle mass decreases, when you start to decline. When you're on a rise, what are you doing? You're on a rise. Let your body take the way. Some of the people who are inexperienced who do the steroids are the ones who have problems. The people who try to mix 3 to 4 different things, that's the problem. You can only enhance so much. If you're a natural athlete and you're going to enhance something, you're probably going to be on the right track. Like, I'll tell you that. Eventually you will. If you're someone who has never won a strongwoman competition or strongman or powerlifting, something natural, I'm probably going to be the person that's telling you a steroid's not going to help.
Right.
It's not. If you didn't win it naturally, that steroid's not going to help you either. Most people who start it have won a lot of stuff naturally, and they also understand the risk, and they understand how to cycle.
Have you ever used it?
Dun, 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 dun.
I don't know.
Question of the hour. Have I used it?
I don't
Yes,
know,
I have.
because to me, I've never even obviously been an athlete. I was 7th, 8th guy in the basketball team, all that 9 yards. So I never really had to worry about that kind of thing. But as you're trying, I guess what I'm trying to ask, is it worth even trying?
Steroids?
Anything.
I
Steroids, HDH,
I would say
anything like
I've thought about this time, because I knew it was going to be my time to come out of the closet about.
I don't know, and I'm not trying to ask if you're uncomfortable.
I have done a cycle of Anavar before.
Okay.
And
that is what?
Anavar is Ostradalon.
Okay, is that a steroid or an
It is the
human growth hormone?
lightest female steroid you can do.
Okay,
it's the one. It's their safest thing that you can do. It has the most minimal side effects.
Okay.
I did it after I tore my labrum, after I won my first world champ. So I won 3 or 4 titles before I even thought of this.
Understand.
And then I had surgery, and I did start a 5 milligram cycle. Most women take 20. And then I think I worked up to 10 at the max, and I was good after that. After ACL surgery, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it'll stay. So there's no need for me to do anything right now. Mm-hmm. I did my cycle after an ACL surgery. To do a cycle is not going to be beneficial. Mm-hmm. Why do I want my muscles to outgrow my ligaments and tendons?
Yeah.
It's not going to work.
So it's not, you've made the decision that it's not beneficial to you and it's not worth the long term.
At this time, yes, that's
right.
what I've made.
Yeah.
It's not worth it for me. I have teammates, I have members that I know. I know a lot of people, and they are very creative. You know, Danaball and Trin and funky name this, that, and the other. And I can't do anything but laugh, because I'm not going to tell someone, no, not do it. Hey, like, you're a big girl or big boy. Like, you can make your own decisions. I'm going to say that I'm not going to do it. I feel like Anavar is all anyone really needs in this world, because the second that you go up, you're going to start distorting things. Your jaw's going to change. Body parts are going to grow differently, especially females. Yeah. I'm good on that. I kind of want to look like a lady. I like being able to wear a nice cocktail dress still. So it's like, my goal is to be the strongest woman that I can be. And if it fits in that it's the strongest woman in the world, that's awesome. But I'm not going to change everything that I believe in order to go win a competition that someone may not know about 3 years ago. I'd rather stay healthy as how I am now step out at the correct time and then help the platform grow for people besides myself.
Right.
Because when I can help them grow, my love in this world is going to grow too. So it's a win-win for me.
Yeah. Where can people get a hold of you? I know you got a couple of different pages on Facebook, and you've got a website, and you're on Twitter. Let's give everybody a rundown of all the different places they can reach out to.
If you want to follow me, the best way would probably be Strongwoman_Kim_Lawrence on Instagram.
Okay.
Or Strongwoman_Kim. I'm the only one out there. You'll find it. And then Kimberly Lawrence on Lawrence with an A, by the way.
Right, LAWRANCE. Yes.
Is on my Facebook, and I have a athlete page on Facebook as well because I try to share them, but I've hit my friend request thing like max a long time ago. Yeah. So I just created that page, and I swear to goodness, guys, I share the same thing.
So what will your mindset be when you go international here in a couple of weeks?
Mind over matter.
Explain
Mind over matter. Because I know I'm going into the sport or this specific event as an underdog, even though I'm defending my title. Mm-hmm. Everyone else has been training. I've had ACL and meniscus reconstruction 6 months, 2 weeks ago to this Friday. So I understand that most people are nowhere near where I am. I already understand that I'm coming at it to where I'm going to have to climb up this mountain. So I'm trying I don't want to get injured. I want to do well, and I want to place top 3. But my main thing is just staying mentally confident and knowing that my body is prepared to do the events I know I can. Mm-hmm. So that's the main thing.
So you want to come out of this with a awesome show, but also come out of this able to go and compete again the following week if you wanted to.
Correct.
Don't take any steps backwards.
Correct. I would like this show, it's not necessarily about my placing right now. It's more about the opportunities I'm able to create from this one.
Well, in 10 years, when you're doing color commentating on Strongwoman competitions around the world and an ESPN analyst and this big, highly paid star, just remember some of us who talked to you on the way up and give us a shout out and a hello on social media on the way up there, okay?
I can do that.
Thanks to Kimberly Lawrence for spending some time with us here on the podcast. She fell short in that international competition to try to defend her title to be the strongest woman in the world. The good news is, though, she came away unhurt. So that rehab from those injuries continues as she looks to compete in more competitions this year and in the near future. Next week, the Executive Vice President of EUE Screen Gem Studios in Wilmington, Bill Vassar, joins us. Bill will share stories from his 49-year career in electronic media. We're talking radio, TV, and film.
I started hanging around stations when I was 13, 14 years old, and I had my FCC license by the time I was 15 because you needed a license
to
be on the air and take the meter readings. And I just started hanging around stations, and I would do anything. I'd go for sandwiches, I'd sweep the floor, anything to be there. And eventually one of the stations I was hanging around let me go and play in the production studio. So by the time I was 15, 16, I had been trained. Mm-hmm. And I had a job waiting for me on my 16th birthday.
That's Bill Vassar from EUE Screen Gem Studios next week here on our podcast. Hey, do you know someone who you think would be a good interview for an upcoming episode? Please let me know who it is. Send me an email to jevans@wect.com, and we'll see if we can set that up for the near future. I'm John Evans. Thanks so much for being with us for this week's episode of One on One.